sometimes we're sort of slow on the uptake in this country, and also we're a little naive in this country. We think we're not, but we actually are. So let's just skip to the chase so that we can be present with what is. This is a takeover. This is not kind of sort of a takeover, but let's talk about why it's a takeover and what the takeover means. This is not just they're saving money so that they can pay for their tax cuts. He would have extended those tax cuts no matter what. This is not about that. And when people who are, let's say, in Congress say this is about accumulation of power, oh yeah, it's about an accumulation of power, but we need to all understand what that means. There are three things which, in order for you to really understand what's going on here, that I would recommend that you look up and that you read about. Number one is, what is a liberal democracy? Number two, what is an illiberal democracy? And number three, read up on Viktor Orban. Viktor Orban is the leader of Hungary, and he turned Hungary away from a liberal democracy, as most European countries are. He turned it into what is essentially a dictatorship. Now, Donald Trump talks about Orban like he's just the greatest guy. He even mentioned him in one of his debates with Harris, and saying, everybody says he's so smart, he's so fantastic. They even call him a strong man. Yeah, in political terms, a strong man is not a compliment. Basically, it is a dictatorial figure. And in one interview, Donald Trump, actually speaking about Orban, said how fantastic a leader he was, how much respect he had. Really, it's not that people respect him, it's that people fear him. And he said, because whatever he says is what goes, and that's how it should be. So this is Trump modeling himself on Viktor Orban. Now, what does that mean when you go from a liberal democracy to an illiberal one? Well, a liberal democracy, at least you try to apply the law in such a way that everyone is protected, based on our tenet that all men are created equal, all men with the inalienable rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. An illiberal one is you've given up on all that. Now, there are a couple of terms we need to be really clear. So not only do you want to read up on liberal democracy, you want to read up on illiberal democracy, you want to read up on Viktor Orban and how he did it, how he basically decimated real democracy in Hungary. And I want to remind you, they had him speak at CPAC. I mean, there are a lot of people on the extreme right populist movement in this country who think he's great, which is why this is happening. So the terms I want to mention as like, don't kid yourself, are white supremacy and Christian nationalism. Now, let's talk about this. You know how they're trying to get rid of diversity, equity, and inclusion programs, and that's all the big deal? They're getting rid of DEI. I love it. These people talk about they're all for free speech. Well, all for free speech, unless you mention gender now, unless you mention transition now, unless you mention anything like that. But let's talk about why. These people don't just want to get rid of DEI programs. They don't want to just get rid of diversity, equity, and inclusion programs. Are you ready for this? You might want to sit down. They want to get rid of diversity. They want to get rid of equity. And they want to get rid of inclusion. If you're Black, if you're Jewish, if you're gay, if you're transgender, yeah, you get to exist, but just stay over there. Because our main institutions, this is what you really got to understand. It's a cultural takeover. So it's not like it will be against the law for you to be gay or Jewish or Black or whatever. No. It's just that nobody will return your phone call. You just won't get hired. And they're getting rid of any programs by which you would actually sue and say, well, you can't do that in this country. And so there's this term, obedience in advance, that people will just start caving, just like the Republicans in Congress are caving in the most unbelievable way. These people took an oath to protect the United States Constitution. And they are undermining it by going along with this. So don't kid yourself. This is all very intentional when they take over the personnel office or they take over the Park Service here. Why do they want to take over the Park Service? The reason they want to take over the Park Service is because of how much of that land they want to sell off for oil drilling and so forth. And programs for disabilities, a friend of mine said to me, well, this is long overdue. Really? Long overdue that they are killing programs that would help disabled children? Long overdue that they're killing programs that stop treatment for malaria? Long overdue that they're treating people. Every time you read an article about how somebody resigned when Musk's guys came in to take over the computer. These were like scenes out of a movie. They tried to protect, these people see protecting U.S. data as sacred. It was part of their own sacred oath. And they tried to keep these people from getting in. And when they wouldn't, they resigned rather. It's more awful what's going on than most people are actually taking in. There was one other thing I was going to say, but I can't remember. So if I remember it, I'll come back. But that's the point. It is as bad. Oh, I know what I was going to say. Kudos to all the women who are creating such amazing content out there. You know, I was so disappointed when Hakeem Jeffrey said he was just trying to figure out what leverage they have. Can you imagine if Churchill, when Hitler was on the march, said, you know, what he so famously said was never, 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 never give up. And there was at that time no rational hope to be able to forestall Hitler's march. And can you imagine if Churchill had just said, well, I'm trying to figure out what leverage we have. And kudos to people like Senators Chris Murphy and Congressman Greg Cesar and Jasmine Crockett and all of those people who are really taking a stand in a really magnificent way. However, they are within a closed system, and that system has been, they're locked out in many ways. Let me tell you who's not locked out, and we better get active now or we will be locked out, and that is we the people. And once again, going back to kudos to some of the, I mean, people are creating great content, but the women are just really laying it down. I'm so proud to be an American woman right now. I'm putting a lot of things on my own Instagram stories that are articles and content that you might be interested in. The one other thing I'll mention before I leave, I was reading an article about what Orban did in Hungary. And it said one of the reasons that this was happening, that he was able to do what he did, was that the Hungarian people had been under Soviet rule ever since, I think, 1957. And then they had a very short time of a liberal democratic government. The liberal democratic government so blew it that they were more vulnerable to Orban's shenanigans. Here in the United States, you and I, we things have not been perfect, and you know I've talked for a long time about all the ways that this country was made, you know, vulnerable to this, and you know I have my opinions about that, but we can't go back right now. We can only go forward, and the thing is, the American people do know what it feels like to basically be able to do what you want to do and, you know, basically have a fair shot to some extent, or at least to enough of an extent that we're in there fighting for it. The American people are not going to like what's happening, and a lot of people already don't like what's happening. So you have to do what you can do. So a lot of it is educating yourself. Look up about liberal democracies. Look up about how democracies die. Look up about what an illiberal democracy is. Look up about Viktor Orban. Check out how these things go down. And then when Vance went to Germany the other day, to Munich for the security conference, he wouldn't even meet with the elected leader of Germany. He wouldn't meet with Olaf, but he would meet with the head of the neo-Nazi definitely problem, but party, AfD, that Elon Musk is so into supporting and hoping that they will be the new leader of Germany. Europeans are waking up and they're getting, oh my God, what's going on? Canada's waking up, oh my God, what's going on? Mexico is waking up, oh my God, what's going on? Just be intentional within yourself, not on my watch. Your own Facebook, your own Twitter, your own whatever. Educate yourself, take action, whatever that is. It's got to be completely nonviolent, but massive. Remember what my daddy said? Don't let the bastards get you down. See you later.